So, as a person who currently works in a minimum wage job, I make good money if or I could if I chose to. But right now, because I'm still kind of learning, I'd rather not risk it. So, but as you can see, so I know all about minimum wage jobs. I know about the how annoying they can be sometimes. Fortunately for me, I work a job where I make tips. Sometimes it could be as minimum small as $1 a day as a tip, or it could be, $4 or $5 for tips altogether. Depends. But demanding $25 an hour for a job that someone could easily walk in and replace anyone. We just had a bunch of people quit. So they're easily replaceable. You're not a neurosurgeon. You're not curing cancer. You're not uh, upholding the infrastructure of the city. No, you're dipping fries in oil. But here we got Bojangles, which I've got my own Bojangles story. Bojangle employees are now demanding $25 per hour because they sometimes burn themselves when grabbing fries. Well, that doesn't sound like it's a Bojangle problem. It sounds like it's a you problem. All the jobs I've worked, I've really never been injured, like majorly injured. I've worked in factories. I've worked at SeaWorld San Antonio. I work at, right now, I'm working at Slicer. I, I'm constantly, obviously, having a knife, and yet how am I avoiding these dastardly hazards if they're so apparently a common occurrence? Guess what? Every job has its risk. Every single job. You work at retail, you risk things fucking falling on you. You work in a factory, you're gonna risk getting crushed or having arms ripped off by the machinery. Every job comes with a risk, which is why that if you know you're going to be burned by fries, you take the precautions to, oh, I don't know, pay more attention to what you're doing. Pay more attention. Don't just like grab at it. If you know you're gonna get some kind of splashback from the oil, or when you're, don't pick. You have scoopers. You don't pick the fries up by your hand. You have a scooper. You put them in. But let's see what this person has to say.
I get burnt by just grabbing fries. I get burnt all the time, slicing my finger, just grabbing fries. Yeah.
First, how does one slice their finger by grabbing fries? Why you always lying? Quit fucking lying.
And it lasts for days. So imagine every single day we're coming here, getting cut and burned for 7 to 10 hours. Imagine how many cuts and burns you get in 7 to 10 hours of constantly working.
Again, stop being a klutz. I worked at a factory for 12 hours. I worked at SeaWorld San Antonio as a caterer for 17 hours. Not once did I ever experience any kind of work mishaps. Like when I was catering, we did those what are they called? My God, you've seen them with the stick with the potato and it kind of the potato spirals. I did that. I can't tell you how many a day of those I made. Not once did I ever freaking cut myself. Not once did I freaking cut myself. I use a slicer on a daily basis. Never had any issues. We have the bread where you cut the bread. Never once stabbed myself so far. How are these people sustaining this many injuries, apparently, over the course of a few hours of work? Maybe it's not a work problem. Maybe it's a you problem.
So I only get paid $12? That's not enough. That won't even cover my hospital bill if I get a third-degree burn. That is one more reason why we demand $25 an hour.
$25 an hour to be doing a job that anyone can walk in and replace you. You're not a neurosurgeon. You're not, taking care of the infrastructure of the city. You're making chicken and French fries. And $12 an hour is more than enough if you don't spend it frivolously. I bet this person's got a nice iPhone. Well, guess what? You don't need to update your iPhone every time a new version comes out, because guess what? It's the same thing with just a slightly bigger screen. And that bigger screen isn't that noticeable anyway. So that's $1,500 right there you don't have to spend. There you go. $1,500 that you can put towards food or your kids or whatever it is. Stop spending money on things that you know you can't afford, and instead start saving. You have an entry-level job. A teenager, still in school, could walk in and take your job. Why do people think they need to be paid $25 an hour? Okay, I get that having multiple jobs sucks. I get it. I had to work at a factory, and on my other days I wasn't working at the factory, I was taking care of an 86-year-old who had dementia. So trust me, I know working multiple jobs sucks, but guess what? When you're an adult, you have to do things you don't want to do. And especially if you have kids, that's the sacrifice you have to make. And if you don't want to make that sacrifice, you shouldn't have fucking had kids in the first place. Maybe you should have put some of those investments into fucking wrapping it up. And if you're a lady here, maybe you should have told those dudes not to freaking come inside ya. Actions have consequences. Unprotected sex comes with children. Children that you may or may not be able to afford. So, oh God, we get burnt and somehow slice our hands on French fries? $12 just isn't enough. We demand like $25 cajillion for doing a job that a high schooler could walk in and do. Like, the freaking audacity of these people. It's insane. It's insane. Like, jobs suck, but every job has its risk. Every job. When I worked at SeaWorld San Antonio, you want to know the biggest risk? Heat stroke. Because you're out there in a freaking Texas heat, and when you're working for 17 hours on your feet, and you don't really get to take a whole lot of breaks until the very end, you're not able to really go back and forth and get drinks and this and that. So every job has its risk. You work at a fast food place and you want a pay raise because you burn your hands on the fries. Then maybe you should pay attention more, because it's not a Bojangles problem. It's a you problem. You are clearly being too careless when you pick up those fries. And why are you picking them up with your hands? As someone who worked at Burger King, you have a scooper. Fast food places that have fries or onion rings or whatever have a scooper. You take the little thing, you scoop the fries, and you drop them into the box. Why are you picking them up with your hands? And if you're saying fresh, like out of the oil, what are you dipping your hand in the oil to put them in? So either way, you look like you're the fucking moron here. How do you keep burning your hands on the fries? You shouldn't be touching them with your bare hands to begin with. Like, this isn't working out the way she hopes. And what happens? Say you do get your $25 an hour. What then? What then? Prices increase, your hours are going to be cut, or you're going to be laid off completely. Well, at least you got your $25 an hour, right? At least you got your $25 an hour. But what good is $25 if you don't have a job? They don't think about this. Instead, they're thinking, oh, I sliced my hand on fries. I'm sorry, are they fries or razors? Because last time I checked, you're not slicing your hand open on French fries, whether they be frozen or cooked. Again, if cut and burn for 7 to 10 hours, imagine how many burns and cuts you get in 7 to 10 hours of constantly working. Well, if you're a fucking klutz and you're not paying attention, you're on your phone all damn day. So again, Missy, this sounds like a you problem. People shouldn't have to raise the minimum wage because you're a fucking klutz or because you don't want to pay attention. You make chicken, you make French fries. A teenager in high school can walk in and do your job. If you have kids, consider taking another job. Life sucks. Life sucks. No matter what era you're going to live in now, life's going to suck. So instead of demanding more for less, why don't you just accept the fact that life isn't easy and just get a second job? Or just do what most girls just go to nowadays. Open an OnlyFans. Try doing something that's never been done before, though. Otherwise, you're not going to make a whole lot. But the fact, $25 an hour for Bojangles. Now, fortunately for me, where I work, I not only get a good paycheck, but I also make tips, which, you would think that I don't get many tips, but I actually do. Strange enough, it's funny how doing voices will get you tips because you come across as friendly, and especially when people are bringing their kids in. You do a stupid voice or, a Mickey or whatever. Congratulations, you just brighten their day and you're getting a nice big tip. So, there's that. But you work a minimum wage job that a high schooler could walk in and replace you. You're not upholding infrastructure. You're not curing cancer. You're not sending people to space. You work in a fast food restaurant. And while I get that that your job has risks, every job has a risk. You want to talk about risks? The factory I worked at, my boss's, I think she said it was either her, I think it was her daughter-in-law, used to work there. And no, she can't work anymore. You want to know why? Because one day she was walking there and she was doing her job and she had, a little sweatshirt on. And one of the, got caught in one of the machines. And it started to drag her in. And suddenly, before you know it, the flesh and everything from her arm and her back was whoosh. Every job has its risks. Okay? Every job. But you do not get to demand $25 an hour because you're not paying attention. Also, Bojangles story for me, because I did work at Bojangles, even though I didn't work at Bojangles. You're like, John, how the hell do you work at Bojangles and not work at them with them at the same time? Easy. Because I was employed by them, but every time I called to find out which day I was coming in, the hiring manager was never there. So everything was fine. I went in for the interview, and it's like, oh, what's your favorite item on the menu? And I'm like, the blueberry biscuits here, because I leaned in and I was like, they're like an orgasm in my mouth. And of course, so she laughed because obviously that's hilarious. It's hilarious for a hiring manager because you really don't expect to hear something like that. But it was fine. I came in the next time and I started doing the online training. And then she's like, all right, well, I've got stuff to do this week and I've got got more things to do, like manage it. People are coming in. So give me a call on Monday and I'll give you a day to come in and we'll get you trained and all that. Okay. So the week goes by and I call on Monday and I get a person who's not her and I'm like, is she there? And they're like, no, she's not here right now. She's not here all day. So if you want to try calling again on Wednesday, I'm like, okay. So I call back on Wednesday. Same thing. Another manager. This place has like fucking 5 managers. I get another manager. And she's like, oh no, she's not here right now. I'm like, do you know when she's going to be here? She's like, oh, she'll be here on Friday. So call again on Friday. And then I get another manager who's a new manager because I tell her, I'm like, I'm just trying to find a day to come in. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. I'd give you a day, but I'm still new. And, it's the hiring manager that does that. But I talked to her and I'm like, do you know when she's going to be in here? She's like, yeah, she'll be here tomorrow. She's been out because she's been, she has like an eye infection. It looks like someone socked her in the eye. I'm like, can you please give her a message for me, like a note or something? She's like, oh yeah, sure. I'll put a note in the office for her, and when she comes in tomorrow morning, she'll see it and she'll give you a call back. So we'll play a game. Do you think she called me back? No, she didn't. She didn't call me back. And then when I called, guess what? She was busy. I call Sunday. She was busy. And then finally, a week later, that Monday, I call again. And she's like, oh, well, because you haven't clocked in for a week, you're automatically terminated. And I'm like, I've been calling for the last week, trying to get a day to come in. I talked to one of the managers, and she said she couldn't give me a day because she was new, and that I had to talk to the hiring manager, which is you. I've been trying to get in here for the last week. She's like, well, I could call corporate and see if maybe they can put you back on the payroll, but if not, you'll have to go through the hiring process again. So I worked for Bojangles, but I didn't actually work. So I think the time that I was there doing the training and all that, like the online, that's really the only paycheck I got from them. Because you're on the clock when you do it. But yeah, so I worked for Bojangles, and the same thing happened when I was in New Jersey. When I was living in New Jersey, I went to McDonald's, asked for a job, got hired on the spot because they were looking for people. They gave me the uniform and the shirt, the pants, everything fit except for the pants. And they're like, "Oh no, that's not a problem. We'll just, that's the biggest we had, but we'll order, a bigger size and we'll let you know." Like a week or two passes and I call them and they're like, "Yeah, we just hired someone else." So basically, these people they didn't want to wait for some pants to show up. So it was like, "Oh yeah, we just won't hire the guy now." So, yeah, you're easily replaceable with these jobs. So demanding $25 an hour, which is only going to screw you over and other people because prices are going to have to be raised. Prices are going to have to be raised. It happens every time. California and New York are perfect examples of places where they've tried this and it always, always fails. And then you people are always shocked, like, what? No, it's because of the, no, no. Remember how the dollar menu used to be the dollar menu? Well, in a lot of places, that dollar menu kept going up because of people like her. When you're when you have a group of people, 12, 20 people that you need to pay, and you're just not making that much money, well, guess what? That money's got to come from somewhere else, doesn't it? Therefore, you have to start raising the prices of your food. And then people start getting laid off. So they're going to have a team of 20 people, and they might reduce it to just 7. So, yeah, a lot of good that $25 is going to do you if you don't have a job. And the higher they raise it, because, you have a burger or a chicken sandwich that starts at like $5, but then the price just keeps going up, and suddenly that chicken sandwich that was like $5 for just a chicken sandwich is now like $13. to offset the cost of the inflation of you know, the minimum wage. Everything comes at a price. You getting your $25 an hour is going to affect everything else. But they don't think about this. I understand having multiple jobs sucks, but welcome to the real world, sweetie. A minimum wage job, a job that a high schooler can do, is not meant to sustain you. It's not. If you want that kind of job, become an electrician, become a plumber, become a roofer, become something that actually contributes and gets paid a lot. Because you're easily replaceable. Easily replaceable. But this is what this generation thinks that they can do. And this is why robots will soon be replacing these jobs. What do you all have against people earning a decent wage for working? What do you have against someone working 2 jobs, or having to go to night school or online school to get a better career? Clearly, these people don't understand how freaking life works. Service workers demanding a livable wage for providing a service but they're not a necessary service. Fast food is for people who don't feel like making food for themselves. Not only would making food for yourselves be cheaper, it'd be healthier. But they don't think about that, do they? Get a real job, not one that's meant for teenagers. I've worked in numerous kitchens. If you burn or cut yourself frequently, it's because you're clumsy and you don't learn from experiences. So you want to make $25 to make fries. The guy coming to save my life when I call 911 only gets $18 an hour. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Yeah, disgusting, isn't it? And there's places that will give in to these people. These people are going to be making more than EMTs, more than nurses, CNAs, people who actually do make a difference. I'm incompetent. Give me more money. There we go. Bojangles kind of sucks now. They really can't afford to have a huge increase. Yeah. I mean, the one here in North Carolina where I live, not exactly busy. No matter what time you go by, it's pretty much empty. So having $25 an hour, say at that one, that would cost them so much because they're obviously not making enough to pay the employees. And it wouldn't be long before that the location would just get shut down completely because already no one really ever goes there. There's Bojangles, and then there's a Wendy's right next door during rush hour. Lunch, people getting off of work. You'll see a line over at Wendy's. You'll see a line over at Taco Bell, but you don't really see anyone at Bojangles. You also really don't see many people over at Arby's. So if the Bojangles here was to increase the price like that, they wouldn't survive. They wouldn't survive because they don't have enough foot traffic or traffic coming through in general to sustain that kind of pay for the employees. But that's something they don't think about because they're only thinking about themselves. Maybe don't be stupid and grab fries that are too hot. They make tools for that. I've seen in McDonald's. Yeah. This is what most places have. This is what we had at Burger King. They have these at McDonald's or some variation. You scoop it up and you slide it down. So how she's slicing herself or burning herself with fries so frequently is beyond me. So she must be literally grabbing them from the oil or grabbing them with her hands right out of the, because you're supposed to be using this. You're supposed to be using that. So she just proves once again it's her incompetence and her inability to just do the job. And she's demanding $25 for that. Please. Please. But, of course, I'm going to have you don't know this. It should be a livable wage. No, if these people are going to be making more than EMTs and nurses and all, no. No. Get a second job. Your job's not worth that much in general if you can be replaced by a freaking teenager. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.